So welcome everyone officially to our webinar today. We want to talk about slide conversion, or the official title, from outdated to on-brand, bring old slides into your new corporate look. And as always, I'm not doing this alone. I have a competent person to help me because I'm just the host here asking stupid questions. And today with me is my colleague Guido. He will talk about this topic a little bit more and I will let him introduce himself. But just for you, if you have any questions during the webinar will be approximately 30 minutes content and then 15 minutes questions. If you have any questions, please write them in the chat. I see that a lot of you have already found the chat functionality. So that's a great way to ask the questions, and I will interrupt Guido if necessary. And if those are questions that we can put at the end, we will handle them at the end. But now, welcome, Guido. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, great. Thanks, Florian, for the intro. Yeah, welcome also from my side to our today's webinar. As mentioned, my name is Guido. I'm account executive at Empower for a little over 3 years now. And today I have the pleasure of bringing you a little closer to the following topic: from outdated to on brand, bring old slides into your new corporate look. I hope you all can see my screen, but that should be the case, Florian, right?
Yes. We see the agenda
Great.
now.
Great. Yeah, the topics for today are why outdated presentations slow you down, followed by best practices for a seamless update. Then I will give you a short live demo, and you can watch an old deck transform into a new, fresh design. Then we will, after the live demo, we will tackle the topic takeaways before we get into the Q&A session, approximately after maybe about 25, 26 minutes. And yeah, let's jump into our first topic. Basically, first, I'd like to share some, yeah, from my perspective, interesting figures showing the importance of today's topic. About 2.5 hours per week end user are spent on formatting slides, which means in total more than 6% of the working time, resulting in 46% of all documents not being corporate design compliant. And unfortunately, at the same time, 78% of all users share these documents externally. And the question I have here is, are you willing to tolerate your employees producing documents that could harm your brand and reputation? Let's jump into the first agenda topic: why outdated presentations slow you down. When rebranding, it is quite important, from my point of view, to look at and consider both sides of the coin, either the branding and the user perspective. Here we have some typical questions from both sides. From the branding team, possible questions could be: what is the rebranding actually about? How do I bring it to the user so that they actually use it? And basically, nearly everybody in the branding team is probably afraid of that it won't be used as expected. The opposite side, the user perspective, is: why a new design? The old one was good. What benefits does it bring to me? Does it offer to me? And who will bring all my content into the new corporate design? So I think quite important questions from both sides. And all these questions should be considered to have a successful rebranding and a new design. I brought you some challenging key facts for redesign. We published a study about 2 years ago showing that 80% of companies continue to use outdated templates after a corporate design relaunch. At the same time, 45% of users were left with wrong or no training support. And 3 out of 10 companies struggle with resistance because users have become accustomed to the old design. So not an ideal situation. And how the result in presentations and slides could look like, I will show you now. This here is a typical slide. Basically, maybe you wouldn't even recognize that something is wrong, but from a brand perspective, at least from an Empower brand perspective, it is not perfect. Let's say it like that. Um, the title is in red, which is not corporate design compliant. We have two different and not corporate design compliant fonts here, and the bullets that are neither corporate design compliant. A little better looks this example here. At least we have the right font, but unfortunately we have the wrong color title, and the the bullets are neither corporate design compliant. And how it could look like in an ideal world is this year, and that's how maybe possibly the content message is delivered the best when the slide is on brand, and it's why corporate design matters. Corporate design strengthens brand identity and professionalism, ensures consistency across all internal and external presentations, reflects an organized and unified company image, and at the same time, it avoids confusion caused by mismatched fonts, colors, or layouts. And a possible result of the three examples we've seen could be that it seems like you don't have one brand, but many. And at the same time, a lot of money is spent on building and communicating your brand. And in the end, we leave to chance how it is represented in Microsoft Office documents. So that's not a good way, let's say it like that. And let's come to the second topic of today's agenda, best practices for a seamless update. First, I'd like to show you some common pitfalls. So first would be changing fonts, colors, or logos, or better said, not changing them after a redesign, for example. Copy pasting slides from different presentations that don't match the corporate design. And the third one, using outdated versions of a template. And on the right-hand side, we will see the solutions for these problems, let's say like that. The Empower ribbon helps users to only use correct fonts and colors. So first topic is eliminated. Um, our conversion tool, as you will see in some minutes, can serve as a one-click solution to mitigate this issue. And the third, the library and our update functions eliminate these issues, so long as users are using Empower. Maybe a short information at this stage here, what is meant with the update functions. When opening a slide that is originally from the Empower library, it will always be checked if there's an update available, and the user can either choose if he wants to apply the update or if he wants to stick to the old version. Our recommendations for a redesign have four different recommendations. So first of all, pure layouts, meaning that finished content doesn't belong to the master template, but to the library. We see quite often that templates consist finalized content, and basically from our perspective, layout should consist of placeholders mainly. So that's our recommendation. Make it easy. So meaning don't overload your users with large number of layouts, but make it easy for them to find their way around. Make it seamless. With Empower, you will always have the right master template and a black canvas to start, which is obviously quite helpful. And a thoughtful change. So sudden rebranding may cause users to stick with familiar options. Instead, rebrand gradually, considering existing master templates. And now we are already at the point where we come to our live demo, and you can watch me transforming an old deck into a fresh design. But first of all, I would have some, let's say, general informations. Obviously, when converting an old presentation or an old deck to a new design, our goal is to the transition to a new master template. And what does a conversion function do? That's probably a question you might all have in mind at the moment. And the conversions helps us to automate many manual steps in the transition process. And it follows a logical sequence of individual steps and is not a magical button that can do everything, but it will help us a lot. And now let's check the presentation in the old design. I will stop my screen sharing of this presentation and switch to the other one. Florian, I hope you can all see the new, better said, old template now.
Yes, yes. So we can see the 4 by 3 bluish template.
Cool, great, thanks. Yeah, I will stay in this view. What I'd like to do first is just to check out the master in here. So if you right click on the slide and then click layout, you see that there are two different masters. One is called Made in Office 2011, and the other one is Made in Office 2012. Just for your information, Made in Office is the former name of Empower. So we changed our name To be honest, I don't know when exactly, but some years in the past before I started at the company, it was switched from Made in Office to Empower. And in this case, we have two different templates here in this presentation, which is from my, or better said, our experience, not that uncommon, unfortunately. I think the maximum I saw was 7 different master templates in one presentation, and it's quite easy to explain how that happens. It's simply copy pasting from other presentations, and that's how it's working. Finally, you have different templates in the presentation, as we see here at the moment. Mm,
Someone is saying 59. 59 layouts, that would be very tough. I mean,
yeah,
maybe it's an exaggeration, but wow.
yeah, maybe a bit too much, but basically, it's always hard to recommend a total number, and that can be totally different and depends on different aspects. So it's quite hard. If you would ask me how many is perfect, that's quite hard to say. Basically, my personal perspective would be having between, let's say, 20 and 30 the maximum. That would be my opinion on that, but that's quite important. That always depends on the requirements and your specific needs. Great. First, what I would do is to show you which layouts are used in these. Maybe just give me a second. I will give you a better overview of the presentation. So we have 10 slides here, and I will switch back to the normal view again, and let's see which layouts we have in here. So the first layout here is just a title slide. The next one would be title and content. Slide 3 is quite nice for us. This here is title, 2 contents, and 2 headlines and 2 contents in this case. And I already know if I will convert this slide here, what we will do in a second, um, the layout will be changed because I know that there's no equivalent layout in our new master template. So that's quite sure this one will change. Here we have uh, title only, and maybe let's have a look at this one as well, because this will probably change as well, because this is here a chapter and we don't have an equivalent in the new master template. And let's switch last but not least to slide 9, because I already know that there will be a change. This here is the layout, title and picture. And if we hit the reset button here, so click slide and then hit the reset button, we see that originally the text here in this placeholder was too much, or better said, the font was too big. And so that's just a reason we will come to later on, because in the result there will probably be overlapping between the text and the picture, and there will be a manual overwork, let's say it like that, because probably the easiest way will be to reduce the font size so that there will be no overlapping between the picture and the text. But for the moment, we will go with that. And I will start the conversion right now, or better said, click convert. And you see we have different options now. You could select selected slides. You could select the full presentation. And in the case you have different possible master templates, you could choose the templates. In our case, I simply choose presentation. And here comes the dialog. And the first option you have is adjust to working area or not adjust to working area. In our case, this is a format, the original presentation is a format 4:3, and we will convert to 16:9. So it absolutely makes sense to leave it activated to adjust the working area, because you already see here in the image, in the short animation, that it will be stretched to the bigger working area here in the new template. So I leave this here switched on. The next one would be a corporate design check. I will deactivate that just in order to show it separately. So I will show you our design check a little later. The next one is no adjustment with shapes at the edges. This simply means that design elements that have been specifically placed at the edge of our presentation should remain there in the same size. The other one is ignore shapes that are outside slides area when adjusting the working area. This is, for example, instructions that are outside the slide, but do not need to be included in the conversion and should stay where they were before, because otherwise they would be adjusted to the working area, which wouldn't be what we'd like to do. And the last one here is apply our advanced layout mapping. I will very shortly explain what layout mapping means. What the layout mapping can do is when we have certain different master templates, which will all be converted to a new one, it could make sense to use a layout mapping because this is especially useful when the conversion is not the result is not that good or not good as expected. And what it is doing is that it's giving the tool a kind of guide saying which layout and placeholder should be converted to which layout and placeholder in the new template. That's basically what is done. Yeah, we can start it now. And as you see, basically, I forgot to switch the view. Let me quickly switch here. And if you remember how it looked before, there's a big difference. And now we can switch back to the normal view and just check out the results. So basically, the first slide is totally fine. Here's an empty placeholder, so you could add a space, so it won't be shown anymore. In the next, exactly the same case, so it looks fine basically. And if you are worried, probably you're not, but just to mention that at this stage, I didn't realize the corporate design check. So I will do this within let's say a minute or two, and you will see that the corporate design will look more consistent after the corporate design check, obviously. But let's quickly click through the slides and see how they look at the moment. I mentioned the slide 3 with the layout switch. So basically it looks very fine. Let's check the layout, and as expected, it is title only because there was no equivalent. Let's switch to the next one. This looks also fine. 5 was another layout switch expected. And yeah, it is converted to a blank layout, which is here. That's totally fine. And I would switch to the last one so we can walk through all the slides. So this one here looks quite good as well here, this one as well. And here at the moment, the text and the image look good, so there's no overlapping. But what I will show you in a second is if we switch the view, that you see all the slides in one, and hit the corporate design check by clicking check and then design check, it will be affected. And probably um, after implementing a solution like ours, the quickest way would be just to choose autocorrect all errors, but you could also choose and check out all errors by type or also by slide. And by simply clicking them, you would see what has changed. But for the moment, I would choose the short version. And please take a look at the headlines here, which are at this very moment all different, let's say like that, or not all different, but not they don't look corporate design compliant. Let's say it like that. And after auto correcting all errors, you directly see that the result looks way better. We can switch back to our normal view. And here you see what I already expected, that there's a small overlapping between the text and the image. And what's the easiest way to handle that is just to raise the text a bit up, and now it's totally fine. You could even enlarge the image, but that's not really necessary. And maybe right now I recognize this layout could also be switched because I prefer, instead of this logo layout, I would prefer that one where the Empower logo is shown in the middle. So that's quite easy to handle. And basically, I think the the conversion took us some minutes, let's say 8 to 9 minutes in total. And just to show you, because I explained a lot of things for you to better understand what is happening. So my idea would be to close the presentation, not saving it, reopening it once more, and to show you, and I'm going to show you the short version of it. So let's open the company overview once more. This is the view. We can enlarge it a little bit. And if I hit convert again, the full presentation, leave everything selected, so also design check, second click, and as you see, the result is, let's say, fine, except what was mentioned before. Here, the small overlapping. So just to raise the text a little, and you could change this layout. But what I wanted to show you is that the conversion of an old presentation, obviously depending on the number of slides, but could be done within let's say a minute or even only some seconds, because it's just 3 clicks and maybe some minimal adjustments afterwards, but that's quite easy to handle. That's it for the live demo. So let's switch back to my original presentation deck and get into the presentation mode. Great. Yeah, so let's come to the takeaways. We have 7 takeaways for you today. First would be only change the master template for good reason. Second would be announce the relaunch well in advance and provide users with a clear explanation of the background. Keep layouts and placeholders simple in order to make it easy for everyone to work with a template and provide an equivalent in a new template if possible. That's the thing I explained maybe 1 or 2 minutes ago. Um, sure, it will not always be possible because, for example, if you have 59 or even more different layouts, probably your intention could also be, combined with rebranding, to reduce the number of layouts. So probably there will not always be an equivalent, but if possible, for, let's say, the main use cases, it is our recommendation to have an equivalent as a layout. Maintain a uniform design across all Microsoft Office applications to ensure a cohesive look and help familiarize users. Guide users through the transition, providing comprehensive training and support to ensure they are all well prepared and capable of embracing the new corporate design. Incentivize users to work with templates with frequent seasonal updates and competitions, etc. And the last one, empower supports users in the transition and implementation of new corporate design guidelines. That were the takeaways. And as my last slide of, let's say, the presentation before we come to the Q&A session, it is always helpful to keep the following sentence in mind. Make it easy for users to stick to your brand, not to ignore it. So basically, this is it. I can switch back and let's get to the Q&A session. So are there any questions in the chat so far? At the moment, I don't see them, but Florian, you see some
No,
questions at the moment.
thank you so much. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat now. We still have some time left. But while we are waiting for questions to arrive, I have a question. I mean, you showed us the layouts before. You mentioned the layout mapping a little bit. Could you explain a little bit more detail what the layout mapping means? And what if users don't use a layout, don't follow the placeholders?
Yeah, great. Maybe let me answer first to the last part of your questions. So if users, for example, don't use any placeholders at all, you can imagine that the conversion tool has its limits. So it at least might make it way more complicated to get a good result in the finalization if no placeholders are used and if you don't stick to any layouts at all. Um, so that needs to be, yeah, better said, needs to be done. Otherwise, it's quite hard to say how good the results will be. To be honest, I personally never saw a presentation without any placeholders used, but obviously I saw some slides without placeholders, and what I can tell you is that the result was not that good if you don't stick to placeholders and the layouts at all. And the first part of the question, the layout mapping, it's basically, as I shortly mentioned, a kind of guide. You say, for example, this specific layout, you can choose every layout, or you don't, it's not that you can use, but you need to do the layout mapping. We can support you with that. So that's not something we leave you alone with, but we will support you with that. We just choose, let's start with the first layout in the master template. And we check to which layout it matches the best in a new template. That's the first step. And if there are different placeholders in both masters, we give them a kind of guide from which placeholder to convert the content, if there's a content, to which placeholder in the new master template. That is basically what is done step by step with every layout in the old master template to the new master template. And as I mentioned upfront, if there are certain different master templates, old templates, which needs to be converted or which will probably be used to convert them from the old to the new, this needs to be done with all of them. So that's basically it. I hope that helps you a bit better to understand what layout mapping is about.
Yes, thank you. We have another question from a user asking us to explain a little bit more the working area on a slide and how to place it, or how to define the working area on a slide. Maybe you can switch to the master view to show that.
Yeah, sure. Let's switch to the master view. So basically here, let's choose one second. So basically here, the working area is what is given here in the middle. You have a title working area, and this here is for the content, and here is for a footnote. That is basically the working area. So to have a defined space on in the master template where content should be stored. That's basically yeah it. And to be honest, I never created a master from the scratch. So probably Florian, you did that and could answer the second part of the questions, because at the moment I never did that. So I can't I wouldn't be able to answer that.
It's actually also a common pitfall. I mean, um, I see a lot of master templates while they're being created and then shared with us. And what you often see is when you open the master and you are on the first slide, so the slide that every other slide um, depends upon, so to say. Um, and I don't see what I see here, which is the defined working area. Then I already know that this will lead to problems in conversion. The good thing is you just need to do that in the new layout, so you do not need to change everything that is already out there. But when you create a new master, we also have a checklist that we can provide you with, or the agency that you are working with. And yes, on this first slide, there should be a placeholder like this defining where the content goes. The title placeholder, I mean, most agencies do not forget the title placeholder. And that is, of course, also important to also, if someone has moved the title, to move it back into the right position. But to place everything, especially when we are changing from 4 by 3 to 16 by 9, it's absolutely important to have this working area to explain to the new layout, hey, this is how you have to look, and this is the room that we can play with. What we
Yeah.
saw in the example that Guido showed, that the house with a roof and the foundation was extended, not stretched, to 16 by 9. That is only possible when the working area is defined here.
Exactly. That was something I would have mentioned as well, but thanks, Florian.
Of course. Any other questions? Otherwise, I have another one for you, but okay. So what I often hear, and I guess you can relate, is that people will say, okay, it looks great. Of course, you have prepared a great example for us, but what about the average transfer results? So basically, what happens if I try it myself with my master design from a client perspective?
Yeah, totally good question, and that's super hard to say, because as you can imagine, or explained upfront, it totally depends. The better you stick to the layouts from your let's say old master template, and have probably an equivalent in a new one, um, the better the result. Because if there's no equivalent, basically it goes to title only or a blank layout, as we've seen in the demo. So that's super hard to say, but just in case the original um, transfer, or better said, conversion result is not satisfying, we still have the option of the layout mapping. And with the guidance of the layout mapping, let's say it like that, we always receive good, or at least acceptable results, obviously depending on the quality of the old presentation. Because as said in the beginning, there's no magical button in PowerPoint. Neither our conversion tool is a magical button. It's simply doing some logical steps. And if the basis is totally unusable, let's say it like that, you can imagine that the result won't be brilliant. But due to the layout mapping, we can do a lot of things to improve the results. So basically, no matter how the original transfer is working, combined with the layout mapping, the results will be quite good, and you will save a lot of time with this functionality.
We have another question in the chat. Is it possible to copy images, icons, logos, etc., directly from the drive into the Empower library? And I mean, that is the question. And maybe we should explain why it's not possible at the moment and what will change in the future.
Yeah, basically, what needs to be done is to copy them into a presentation. That would be if you have some images, for example, to have one starting point, just copy them into a presentation and then saves them as an image with a tagging, with a dedicated name for each image, making it possible to find them via the searching functionality in the library. And Florian, you're talking about the bulk import, or is it?
I'm talking about two things. I mean, it is time consuming. That's true. Why is there no bulk import yet? Is
Mhm.
because we've seen a lot of clients switching to dumb systems like Frontify, Binder, Content Serve, whatever, and we're usually integrating those. But we've seen in the past that not everyone has already switched to a dumb system or doesn't want to switch. Therefore, in the newest version that will come in a month or two, we have introduced a bulk upload that is better handled by our onboarding team. So it's probably easier if you just provide us with the images, logos, and so on, and we upload it for you. But in theory, we could also, yeah, hand this functionality over to you. But since it's the first version, it's probably easier if we do it for you and you just see the final results and have all the stuff
Yeah.
in your library.
Yeah, I think our wish for the future would be that would be a bit more intuitive in a second, let's say, version of the part of the feature. But at the moment, I'm with you, Florian. It might be better to leave it with us for the beginning, and probably in the future it will be a bit more user friendly, as it is for the first version now.
Okay. Any more questions? The feedback was that sounds good. She's curious. That's good.
Yeah.
So more to come in the next 2 months. Any other questions for Guido or talking about slide conversion, brand refresh in general?
Just to give you that, if there that what is quite often the case, or at least what I or we both experienced in the past, is in the session sometimes you forget the questions, and after finalizing the call the questions come up. So always feel free to get in touch with us, and we will do our very best to answer your questions after the webinar if there are any additional questions that come up a little later.
Yes, exactly. Okay. If that's it for now, then thank you for your time. Thank you for coming. We will share the recording later on. You can also find it on our website. I am very happy with the AirMeet, the new software that we're using. I don't know about you, Guido, but it's a little
Yeah,
bit more intuitive.
absolutely.
And yeah, I hope to see you again for other topics in the future. We usually will have at least one a month, maybe I think it's the last Thursday of each month, to
Mhm.
have one topic at least. And of course, we will advertise them. And yeah, feel free to come back and have a nice weekend.
Thanks for your attention and have a nice day.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.